Excellent. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to spotlight myself for everyone. Not because I like myself, but because I'm going to share the big screen anyways. Where's my share? More share in my presentation. Okay. Quick thumbs up if you guys can see it. And it's taking all of the screen. Excellent. Okay. And I already recorded, so I can take my little sticky out of it there. And so today you guys have joined because we want to talk about how to build strategic visibility beyond your boss. And this is a good one that I didn't necessarily learn very early in my career, and I wish I had. And then at some points in my career, I kind of forgot about it because I got comfortable and then regretted it. So I think it's, even if we are good at really looking to amplify our network, it's always good as a reminder and maybe also some tips for how to make it even bigger. Because we really want the right leaders to understand what we're all about and not just see the outcome, but also how we got there. Because we all know, I mean, maybe 80% of your job sometimes is to avoid things happening, and they don't happen. So nobody sees it. And that's the challenge that we really want to tackle, and how to make sure you are visible. But before we get too far into things, I have a little guide, because throughout the presentation, as I was practicing and I was looking at things, there's a lot of what you need to look for, but how do you start? And that is where the strategic visibility reflection guide is a little guide, just a few pages, that will help you identify some stakeholders and ask yourself some questions to be able to identify as we go through it. And we talk about what is the networking piece, because it's not just the typical being social part, or how do we do this and that, or identify the leaders we want to connect with. This guide is going to help you. You're going to get it in the email when you get the recording tonight. But if you're like me and come out of a masterclass or a training and you want to get that hands-on, because it just, you have all the energy, then make sure you scan that code real quick and have it there in your browser, and you can come back to it later. So the biggest thing you're going to hear me saying this today in this masterclass is that your boss knowing your value is very important, but it may not be enough. And I'm going to show you a few examples of where my personal career really took a huge step forward when I trusted other leaders to see and understand my leadership. And then I'm going to also share a couple of examples from some of my clients to a little bit illustrate what I'm talking about here. So the question is, what if the right people understood more than just your output? Because the output is what people see. The project was delivered on time. Your teams are working on what they need to be doing. Studies get database locked if you're in data management, or if you're in safety, you're getting all the SUSARs on time, or whatever it is, things happen. But a lot of times people don't see how that was possible. They don't see your leadership. They don't see really your judgment in how you guided the team and what things you had to put in place to make sure that your impact is what drives all those outputs. And also what decisions you made along the way. Because let's be honest, when you are the one that does everything you need to do and things are done on time and done well, they're not as visible as somebody that messed up to start with and then had to fix it. And everybody sees, oh, how they fix it, because they're all eyes on what's going on. And this has been a big part of what we've been talking about in a few of the master classes. So that is strategic visibility. So it's not becoming louder or political or self-promotion, which makes all of us cringe. And that's the comment I get all the time when people see my posts or read my newsletters. And it's like, I'm so glad you gave this example because I hate to be political. I hate to be just talking for my own stuff. And that's not what this is all about. This is about being intentional about how you communicate what you're doing and how you communicate what took you to that outcome or what took your team to that outcome. Because at this point, we're not necessarily talking just about you, but you all are leaders. So you have a team that's pushing an outcome. So the core reframe, right, that I want you all to see, and we're going to go back to different core reframes just to make a summary of what I'm trying to say here. The leaders that influence your career may not be the ones that manage you. And sometimes I mean manage you on your direct manager, and sometimes I mean the manager of your manager, because that direct reporting line is the one that we usually make sure knows what we're doing and how we're doing it. But your reporting line is very important on the day to day, but it may not be the one that gives you your next opportunity or the next promotion, or who really values what you're doing and make sure that you are given opportunities. And again, if you guys have any questions, make sure that you're letting me know. Otherwise, I will just continue. So why this matters now? And I don't think I have to explain to all of you the volatility and the craziness in what's happening in the industry with all these reorgs and companies buying companies. And we all get very excited when Lilly comes out with the latest purchase of this asset and the company that has the asset, and it's all towards progress. But there's a lot of reorg that happens when that goes through, when those deals go through. There's a lot of people that are affected. And so what really matters is who understands your leadership and who can help you be the one that gets elected to lead a change, or be the one that gets elected to continue in that position, or be given the new position to oversee some of what's coming in. That may not be your direct boss. It may be somebody in a different function seeing and understanding your leadership and saying, that's the person I want to do this. So this is for you. And I always say this: if you're already capable, you're delivering, you're trusted to deliver, right? You're receiving positive feedback from your manager, but then you really wonder, does anyone else know what I do? What happens if my manager is not here tomorrow? Who vouches for me? And that's what we're trying to avoid with this chat today. Make sure that you have the right connections so you're not wondering if somebody's speaking on your behalf during meetings where decisions are being made. And this is not for you. If you've been to any of my masterclasses, you know, if you just need networking advice, that's not what I do, or confidence training. Even though confidence comes into the equation, you're all confident leaders already. And what this is about is how do you use that and how you're intentional about your visibility. And if you want scripts, I usually don't do that. I may give you examples, but I don't like that. So I'm sure you all know all that and you're still here. So the question that we're trying to answer is, if you're asking yourself in your mind, my boss knows my value, but who else does? Who else is going to be able to speak on my behalf? Then this is for you. Another question, why am I teaching this right now? I think I made it kind of already obvious, but after 25 years in the industry and more than 20 of those in different leadership roles, I've been there where I've been producing, I've had great results, great outcomes, but my career was stalling. And I was wondering why. Well, some points my boss may have other objectives, or they had other people they wanted to push through. And also, I've seen other leaders and friends in the industry that have had the same issue because we were not looking outside of our direct line. And that cost us a little bit, and it was a big risk. And now it's even a bigger risk. So that's why I decided to do this masterclass. So let me tell you with an example of what I'm talking about here. So you really see that this is not just being more social or networking, right? Or just going out for drinks with people. I was a project director a lot of years ago on a very large project. We had a very critical client, one of those that if you think pharmaceutical companies, the first five that comes to mind, I'm sure it's one of them. So we had this large project and it was a cardiovascular study. We all know that those tend to be huge. And the adjudication team was responsible for those outcomes and adjudicating cases. The company was very keen on having those done quickly because we want that data to continue moving. And per contract, they should have been quicker. And it was taking over 2 months to adjudicate cases. It was my study from a project director perspective, but the team reported through the medical director. And I wanted to do something about it. I just happened to have a little bit of time as well. Another project had ended. And so I went to him and I asked if I could help. And then I met with a team to try to understand what's the process. And I still remember very vividly when somebody was explaining to me that they were about to send for a specific case email number 8. And when I asked what happened to email 1 through 7, there was no response. So I just obviously asked, what's going to make you think that they're going to answer number 8 and 1 to 7 went like ghosted? So we looked at the process. We revamped the process. Long story short, we got cases from over 2 months to a week or two. It was huge. The client did not pull that work, which is what they were about to do. And so everybody was happy. I was super proud of what I did. But what I didn't know was that, and I got ahead of myself. What I didn't know was at the end of the year, this was at Covans, and they have the Covans Way Award. If any of you ever worked with Covans, you know it's a big deal. It's a big award. And the medical director went ahead and submitted my name because I had made a big difference, and it was the biggest project they had in his department for the Covans Way Award. Well, the name was challenged, right? I was not someone that at that point understood the whole networking thing as I do now. And the other leaders didn't necessarily knew who I was. I had only been at Covans for a couple of years anyways. And so my name got challenged. There were other leaders that wanted to put other people through. And there was just only like 1 or 2 per business unit that got put forward. And my own boss's boss challenged it because my boss understood what I was doing, but it definitely was not a critical thing for her at the time. So her boss didn't even know either. Now, the medical director was able to explain what I did, how I did it, what was the implication, how it just completely changed the relationship with the client. And at the end of the day, I got the award. And it came with a big bonus, a big financial gift, I guess. But more importantly, it put me in the map with all those other leaders that didn't even know who I was. I was just a project director at that point. And so this just goes to show you how important it is to make sure that you interact with people. At the time, I could have just gone silently, figuring it out. But what I did was I talked to the medical director. I got him involved. I got his buy-in. He understood what I went through with his team. That did not take a lot more energy than just trying to do it by myself, but it did give me a lot of visibility, right? With that medical director. So this is what I'm talking about. It's not politics. It's not trying to just go to the, I don't know who is in person anymore. I was going to say to the kitchen and try to talk to VPs that just show up. I don't think that works anymore. But this is what I'm talking about. Just making sure your work is understood. And again, the lesson I didn't understand at the time, and then that brought it to light, was, and I forgot to open the whole comment thing. So if anyone sends a comment, I'm not going to see it. But I'll look for that in a minute. The lesson I didn't understand at that time is how important those connections were. How important was to be intentional. So to me, I just happened to do it that way, and that taught me a lesson. And what I want to do is now teach other women or discuss with other women how to do that to make sure you have a big network. At the time, I stayed with my smaller network, but with time, I was able to increase it a lot more. So the problem really is many capable leaders. Wait, I have somebody in the waiting room. Here, a minute. Many leaders really stay visible to the person they report to, even if it's a big department, even if you have the option of interacting with others, you stay with your department. And that really puts a risk into who sees your work, because something may happen to that person. Or like in my situation, in the example that I shared, my boss had other objectives, right? For her, it was not a big deal that I fixed adjudication. So she knew what I had done. She never talked to her boss about it. He had no idea. And then somebody else had to come in. So again, I'm not saying she did it on purpose, but it was clearly not somebody that was advocating for me. So the big thing I want you to come away with today is the strategic visibility map. And this is, I mean, if you're visual like I am, it's an actual map in terms of names on a sheet. Now you can just push them all into kind of like Chat GPT and ask Chat GPT to give you a visual map. And it does great when you give it the right prompts. Or it can just be names jotted down in a piece of paper that you know who they are and how you want to connect with them. So really that's what we want to talk about, is the influence. Who actually can shape your direction, can shape your career outside of your reporting line. What do they need to understand about what you do to be able to be your best advocate outside of your reporting line? And the touch points, right? So where can that become visible? Because again, we don't want to say, hey, me. We want to have intentional, we want to be intentional about what we are doing to become more visible. So again, it's not another version of me being more confident. Really, what I'm talking about is using that confidence you already have to be intentional, to not let the project keep you focused on what you're doing, where you forget your career, you forget your own interest in advancement. Because if you don't do it, nobody else will do it for you. So it's not about becoming more confident, although we can always work on that if that's the problem. But it's more about using your skills to identify and connect with the people that can make a bigger difference. And the other distinction I want to make here is positive feedback is really not the same as being strategically understood. Because how many of you have had great performance review that made no difference afterwards? Or how many of you get told during the meeting, oh, this is amazing, you did great, the project was on time, on budget, kudos, way to go. And that same leader forgot about what you did the next day because they have a bigger fish to fry. And that is what I'm trying to differentiate here. Don't stay with the positive feedback. Although it's awesome, use it as fuel. Use it to go intentionally work on your visibility and use that for your own benefit. But don't stay there, because that's really not strategic visibility. Pillar number 1, influence. So, okay, you're wondering, okay, give me something I can use here. I already told you your org chart doesn't necessarily take you where I want you to go. It doesn't necessarily only allow you to go in that route if you want to progress. A lot of times, opening up and fanning out gives you a lot more. So, what is it? And who is it that you can look into to complete that map, to look at who are the people you need to be identifying as someone that you would like for them to understand and be visible into your leadership? Cross-functional leader, client-facing leaders, portfolio leaders, people in HR, clients themselves. I mean, there's so many people that can advocate for you. You just need to look strategically at, okay, who do I need to touch on? Who and the how we'll worry about later. Who would be great if they understood my value today? Blue sky. Don't worry about their titles. Don't worry about what they know about you. We're going to solve that problem. Today, who do you need to target in the organization? And the questions that are going to allow you to identify those people is who sees your work directly? And sometimes this just means your outcomes. Because if you're seeing your outcome already, it's easier to just plug in some of that, how you got to that outcome. And so that will allow you to have that person now in your network who benefits from my decisions. And this is an important one, right? I have a client, which I didn't put her in the slides, but I have a client that we started working on the way she communicates. We started working on how to sound more confident in meetings because she was finding that sometimes her ideas were ignored, and then somebody else said them 2 weeks later, and they were the most brilliant thing everybody heard that day. And then we solved that problem, and now we're working on her visibility map. And her department just interacts with a lot of other departments. The product from her team is used by other teams. And so that's the best place to start. Who sees the outcome from your leadership is the teams that work with your teams. Who's the leader of that team? And then ask yourself, what are their objectives? What will make a difference? And with my client, what we're doing is working also in her vision board, right? What's her vision for the department and how her vision would make it easier for the other departments as well? Or how would it change the way they work? So that was excellent. Now she grabs her vision board, she identifies who she needs on her core or on her team in terms of that visibility map, and goes talk to that leader. And ask for a meeting. Of course, we go through all the formalities to share her vision and to share where are connection points with their team and how they can collaborate, and they can jump on her vision or she can jump on their vision and really do this together. That is a great way to do this all around. So the reframe for this part really is that strategic visibility should follow influence, not hierarchy. So this is just rewording what we said before. Don't stay in your line management column. Go into influence, not hierarchy, right? So once you know who matters, we answer the question of who needs to understand my value. We go into not how do I get more visible, but let the work do the heavy lifting. What do these leaders need to understand of the value I already create? And that takes us to the second part of the conversation, which is pillar 2, which is translation. We identify who, now we identify what they need to know, right? And so what happens often is the leaders again see the outcome, and you're going to hear me saying this all the time. Now what we need to do is have them also understand what you did, how you led the team for that outcome. Because at this point, most of you are not individual contributors. You all have teams. So we focus on, okay, what what is it that my team is doing, and how am I leading them to this outcome? So before I go to another story, I haven't seen any, and I have a little attendee list here, but I haven't seen any hands come up. So hopefully there's no questions at this point. We'll just continue. Excellent. Okay. So the other story that I wanted to share with you, and this happened to me as well. This was a few years after the previous story, so I was a little bit better at managing those conversations. But I was in the project management team. Again, I was a senior director overseeing a partnership. I was working very closely with the alliance director, and this alliance director was a VP in a different function, which was alliance management. But we had this client, which was, again, a big pharma company. We had a lot of studies with them, and they were a little tricky to work with. It's one of those that we all know, right? You're in the hallway. Which study did you put on? Oh, this one. Oh, boy. Okay, good luck with that one. They were difficult to work with. But I was like, great opportunity for me. For me, it was a challenge. Let's go do it. And we would meet face to face with this leadership for the client quarterly. And the alliance director would come along and we would both meet with them and look at what was going on, propose solutions. Really, that taking that discussion away from the team so they could do the work and we could do the maneuvering around some of the issues. And he was pretty impressed about how I managed the client and how, and I mean, it's funny how he used to put it, with your innocent, nice voice, you would tell them they were wrong and they would agree with you. That's kind of like how he would sum it up. But at the time, it was funny, right? I would just go there, be my cheerful self, hear all the complaints, come up with a solution, and we were all moving forward. And so at the end of the year, it came down to feedback, and my manager asked him for feedback and said, okay, performance review is coming. How about you give me some third-party feedback? So he didn't just go to giving some feedback. He also suggested that I received and exceeds expectations for my work with that client in particular. My boss at the time was like, really? What do you think that? I mean, we all know how this works, right? And if you're in a big company, you have to apply the curve into how many exceeds can you give. And she probably had other ones. And in any case, she kind of challenged him and said, well, I have a lot of great senior directors. Why should I give her an exceeds expectations? And again, he went ahead and he was so happy with how I was managing the client that took extra time to give her extra details and to give more information so I would get that exceeds expectation, which I did, by the way. I was very happy with my bonus and my salary increase. But that goes to show you how even people outside of my direct line were even more important for me to be able to get there than my own boss, who, by the way, challenged it. He told me about it later, but I didn't hold a grudge. So the result here is people need to see the value behind what you did, right? People need to see how you got there, because all my boss saw is, okay, great client relationship. She had no idea of how difficult they were to deal with, or any of all of the activities I had done to prevent issues, to prevent risk. At the time, nobody likes to be super big on explanation about how great you are or what you did. So my boss kind of knew the outcome, but that was about it. And this other leader helped me move forward with her seeing what I had actually done firsthand. Because again, a lot of the value, as I said, is or a lot of what we do every day, we avoid issues. We avoid the client escalation. We avoid the risk. We avoid so many things, and we do it so well that our projects have a great outcome. But nobody sees all of that work. And I would highly recommend that you don't go into a status meeting and report every single thing you did, because then you're going to bore everybody to death. But really, when you're going to go and report an outcome, think about what are the critical one or two things that made this outcome possible, and also mention them. And again, 2 months ago, the last masterclass really focused a lot on that. So if you need it, let me know. I'll send you the replay. But really thinking about how can you really report the outcome, making sure that you're also given the value behind it. And the risk, again, is if the leaders can't explain your impact, they may not be able to advocate for it. And again, vague appreciation or kind of knowing what you did, and even maybe they submit you for that award. If there's no other leaders that also kind of second that motion, or that the person submitting it can't really passionately talk about your value, it may not get you there. So that's what we need to do. And we get to the third part, which is touch points. And this is where leaders get stuck, right? We already identify who needs to hear it. We identified what we want to show, but we also need to identify how we're going to do that, right? And so we want to make sure we're looking at leadership updates or a risk discussion. These are all places where you already report outcome. So you want to make sure that you're also adding a little bit of that flavor of how you got to that outcome. Okay, and again, you can also create your own opportunities. Like I said before, if you identified someone that you want to have, you want that person to have the visibility into what you bring to the table, you need to create those opportunities, and maybe schedule some time to discuss your vision and how changes to your process is going to affect them. How many times have you worked on a project and the stats team is like, oh, that's not my problem, that's data management. The data management team is, that's not my problem, that's ClinOps. And nobody really gets together to fix it. Nobody gets together to say, this is the vision, this is where we're moving towards. And then that group moves towards something completely new and great that breaks the process for somebody else. So take those opportunities to be visible with the leaders of those groups and create your own opportunities. You don't need to meet with them weekly. Obviously, that's not possible. But maybe once or twice a year, just to discuss where there's synergies, just to discuss where your team is contributing to the other teams being able to create more value as well. So again, it's not politics, and hopefully I made that clear so far. It's intentionally looking at where your value can be highlighted, if I can sum it up in one word. So we have the strategic visibility map, which is the influence, the translation, and the touch points. We touched on that, right? Now, the key is, how do we apply that? So let me give you another example. If you came to some of my previous masterclasses, you heard Maria's story. And it's the story that keeps on giving because it's just so good. So for those of you that haven't heard Maria's story, she came to me after a devastating meeting where a leader within HR, which a lot of times we're all afraid of HR, right? Came super hard on her on a meeting where there were other leaders, and she was criticizing everything she was presenting, criticizing Maria's team and how they were doing things, the outcomes. She was saying things that weren't necessarily true, but not even giving Maria a minute for her to chime in and say, wait, that what? And now 5 weeks later, she had to present again. And after that meeting, she started even questioning, am I even able to do this job? And this leadership is not for me, maybe. I mean, she questioned so many things and broke my heart because she was a great leader. She is a great leader. And so we worked on it, right? We worked, and again, we started working on some of that confidence. She was a very confident leader, but for some reason, this HR person destroyed that in a meeting. So we worked on different techniques that made her feel like they weren't authentic because it was things that she would normally say or she would normally do. And we practiced. And long story short, she went to that next meeting and it went very different. I think the HR manager was hoping it was going to be the same way, but Maria was ready. And at the end of the meeting, there were other leaders in there, same level as Maria, higher than Maria as well. And at the end of the meeting, some of the other leaders came and said, we should all learn from Maria, how she managed this difficult conversation. Now, why do I bring this up? Is Maria was not looking for visibility, but she got it. So the important thing to remember is every single meeting that you have with other leaders is an opportunity for you to showcase your value. We don't want to put things out there that are not true or don't feel authentic, but just showcase your value and have those leaders understand what you're all about. Because leaders a lot of times hold back, and Maria did a lot of these things. Now she changed a little bit, but you assume your boss will carry the message. I give you 2 examples in my case where it didn't. They actually challenged it. Or wait until performance review. You need to be asking those questions a lot earlier. You don't want to self-promote. You don't want to be political, but that's not needed. All you need to do is make sure you're bringing up to light how you're managing, how you're leading for that outcome to be successful. And sometimes, as I said before, they're so focused on delivering that you're not intentionally putting your career first. And that's a big mistake that we need to change. You need to, if you're not advocating for your career, believe me, your boss won't either. So again, the good news, as I showed you today, you don't have to be louder or political or turn into a cheerleader for yourself that you don't feel comfortable with, right? There's other ways that you can create your value. So what this can change is if you do it well, you stop depending on your boss for telling you, hey, there's this opportunity. Do you want it? Which a lot of times it doesn't happen because they don't want to lose you. You're doing great work. You're a great performer. Why are they going to ship you off to another opportunity because it's better for you? That doesn't happen in a lot of places. So you want other leaders to say, you know what? This person was amazing. I'm impressed every time with how she manages risk or conflict or whatever it is. Let me talk to her about coming for this opportunity or that opportunity. And that is what this makes possible. And again, we don't want to wait. We want to really act now because the reorgs are here. The craziness in the industry is here. And the gaps in visibility usually don't really surface in turmoil. They don't really surface in quiet times. They surface in turmoil. So now is the time to make sure that you're closing those gaps. And this masterclass, as I said before, is showing you what you need to focus on. It's giving you tools to be able to apply this. But as I mentioned initially when we started, setting up a strategy call will help us look at your own situation and be able to target a couple leaders. Again, it's only a half-hour call, so we will look at the higher level of that and be able to give you a couple actions you can come out with from that call and be able to just do it yourself. Or maybe you are like, you know what, I want you to help me. And of course, that's where we would turn it into talking about future coaching, but we wouldn't do that until we make sure that it's a good fit for you. And that's what you want to do anyways. So truly the strategy call is for you to come out with something more tangible after this masterclass. And I'm just going to go here. And these are some stories, right? Chris is one of the leaders that I talked about in one of the examples that I gave, where we started working again on speaking more confidently. She is confident, but it doesn't come across that way. And now we're really up to the visibility map, the vision boards, and a lot more higher level things. And this was really great. The way she said it is like she felt like her contribution and her ideas weren't being seen at work. And now she feels comfortable in articulating her thoughts and again, making that vision a reality. So you have also the example of Elizabeth and another director I worked with in the past as well. And I put this up there because it's doable. And actually, if you follow a very simple process, everybody can do this. And then you can really put your career up front. So if this is landing for you, again, a pitch here to let's talk about it. Let me help you identify where you need to put those intentions. And let's start that map together. One more time, in case you missed it, you can just scan that QR code or the link will be on the follow-up email. I'm going to send the recording and that guide that I noted at the beginning, and then you're going to have the link for the strategy session there as well. Final thought, and we have a few minutes after this for just discussion, comments, wherever you want to take it. Just think about this. Your work may be strong and your boss may value you. Your feedback may even be positive. But if there's no more leaders that really can advocate for you, it may become a risk. And I'll give you one last example. I had a great relationship with my boss at one point in terms of I knew he had my really career interest in mind. He had given me opportunities. He had submitted my name for different trainings and leadership opportunities. So I knew that was working great. And I kind of relaxed a little bit about this whole visibility map. And then he fell out of grace with the new leadership, where he was put in a different department. And guess what happened? I lost my visibility with him. And I had to kind of start again. So even though you feel you got it, you have a great boss, you feel like you have a few contacts, make sure that network is wide enough. So whatever happens depends on you and your network and not on somebody else that you had all your eggs on that basket, not being able to speak for you. So that's what I'm saying. And use this, the energy you get for the masterclass, grab that guide, think about the names, and don't let it wait. If you want to talk, schedule a call within the next few days, not maybe in a month when you have time, because by then the energy is not there and you will have projects that will come ahead of it. And again, your career will be put on the back burner because you have so many other fires to put down today. So let me stop the screen share here so I can see you guys. Although it looks like excellent. So I have Jen and Christy on camera. Either if you're on camera or not, if you have any questions, want to make a comment. I know I rushed through a lot of that, but Happy to answer any questions you may have.
No questions, but it very much resonates with me, Vanessa. I've spoken to you in the past about issues I've had between my founder and my president, but I have found that working very closely with the VP of engineering has given me more visibility to higher ups than I ever anticipated. To the point where he is saying, we don't have a company without you, or we couldn't do this without you. And he verbalizes that without me asking for his support. So very much resonates, and it's carried throughout, which is wonderful.
Yeah, great to hear that. And yes, I remember your story when we talked, and that's good, right? Because you have a direct line to the founder and your boss, and they're all big people, but you still need other advocates,
Mhm.
right? And you're doing that, and I love hearing it. So that's great. Yep.
Thank you.
I'll just add to that if there are individuals that you look at to be a mentor for you, they don't know that they are a mentor to you, per se. It's good to approach them
Hmm.
and talk to them and let them know that you're interested in potentially maybe having a one-to-one once a month and sharing where you are interested in growing in your career. And sometimes those doors will open up in opportunities where it could be a proposal or it could be an initiative that they may recommend you for. That's one avenue. And I think too, when you have direct reports or yourself where you have been demonstrating performance, having those awards is also a way to get that recognition because the person that's nominating you has to provide clear documentation on why you're being nominated so
Hmm.
that that information can then go into your performance evaluation when you're assessing yourself and you can provide those examples. And then I think too, I don't know how many have taken the Hogan 360 evaluation, but that is a really good assessment to get very honest, objective feedback from peers, as well as just different colleagues that maybe not work with you regularly, but maybe on an initiative on a team or a committee. Or if you are providing some subject matter expert based on a particular indication that you work in, that's another way where people can recognize you and give you input on those type of reviews. They're very beneficial.
Yeah, no, and I love what you're saying, Christy. And the whole thing about if you have someone that you look up to, going and asking them, can we meet once a month? I want to be my mentor. And if it's somebody outside of your circle, that is so important. And it would surprise you how much people actually want to do that. I know at the company that I was at, it was a formal process. But then I also had someone came to me and said, look, I don't want to sign up for the formal process because they just assign you someone. I want to work with you. And that was great. And I said, absolutely. I mean, an hour for you to pick my brain and to put them in contact with people I know. Absolutely, I could do that. And so don't be intimidated. The worst that can happen is that they're not going to tell you flat out no in a mean way. They're going to say, well, I'm sorry, I don't have the time if they can't. But in most cases, I've seen people are very, very willing to help you. So that's a great point. And the one about those assessments, it's also good. And hopefully you'll get the right sponsors and mentors to work with you. But if you don't, make sure you reach outside of that as well. I had the experience where my sponsor was sponsor in name only. He didn't really help me. He didn't know what his duties as a sponsor was.
Mm.
But yeah, that all points back to these things. And I love that contribution, Christy. Thank you. Anyone else? I know there's a few of you still on the line, on not on screen, which is perfectly fine. Do you guys have any questions? I purposely tried to make sure we had some extra time this time at the end to be able to talk about a couple things if needed. No? Okay. Well, I'll give everyone 5-6 minutes back. We can all rush to have a little bit of a bio break and then off to our next meeting. Our life in meetings these days. But thank you. Thank you for participating
Thank you.
today. Thank you for being here. Take advantage of that strategy call. I'd love to talk to you guys and help you. And I just love talking to women in leadership in general anyway. So have a great day, great rest of the week, a great
Thank
rest
you.
of the summer, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Take
You
care.
as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.